Hey guys, Hamsterwheel here with a new video, and welcome to episode 9 of the Classic Armory, a video series where we go through what weapons your class can get as you make your way from level 1 to 60. As explained before, I will stay away from world drops because Lord only knows how much these will cost on your server, so I'd rather stick with either weapons from dungeons or weapons you can get through questing. Now that we got that out of the way, it's time to talk about our featured class, and after a long marathon of episodes surrounding the Horde faction, we now walk over to the blue side and check out the most Alliance class of them all, the Paladin, the Wielders of Light, the Holy Crusaders, the guys who will be annoying warriors everywhere with trying to take away their loot. All kidding aside, let's check out what weapons they can get. So at the beginning you're sent out there with nothing but a crappy two-handed mace, but luckily you can get yourself something new at around your teens. Cause at this level range we can go for the Cold Ridge Hammer, a two-handed mace with 8.3 DPS, 2.7 attack speed, 1 strength and 1 spirit. A great starter weapon that will replace whatever grey or white weapon you were wearing before and will definitely offer you a nice boost to your damage. The quest for this is called Protecting the Herd. Then in your mid-teens we can shoot for this, the Edge of the People's Militia, a two-handed sword with 11.2 DPS, 2.9 attack speed and 5 extra stamina. That 5 extra stamina will offer you a bit more survivability, and to be honest I like the way it looks, as it kind of resembles something that a young Paladin student would wear as they're trying to become a master of their own class. The quest you need to do to get this is called the People's Militia. Then a few levels later we can venture into the Deadmines, where we have a chance of getting one of 4 weapons, starting with this, the Piercing Axe, a two-handed axe with 11.8 DPS, 3.3 attack speed and 5 agility. Now that 5 agility isn't exactly great, and its DPS is only slightly better than the Edge of the People's Militia, but since this involves a quest and not a drop, it is a wise decision to have this in your quest log while doing the Deadmines and bag yourself an extra weapon, whether you're gonna actually wear this or just vendor it for the silver. It is good to pick up. The quest for this is called Red Silk Bandanas. Next up is the Rock Slicer, which unlike the previous weapon is in fact a drop from a boss. It's a two-handed axe that offers 13.8 DPS, 3.3 attack speed and a pretty big 7 strength that will definitely add a lot more oomph to your attacks. The third weapon we can get is this, the Taskmaster Axe, a two-handed axe with 19.6 DPS, 2.7 attack speed, 8 spirit and 8 stamina. So this is a pretty big upgrade compared to the other items with a lot more DPS, a lot more extra stats, and that sweet blue color. Keep in mind that things like this will be very popular with warriors and maybe even hunters, so prepare to see some stiff competition for this one. And then last but not least we can get this, Smite's Mighty Hammer, a two-handed mace with 19.7 DPS, 3.5 attack speed, 11 strength and 4 agility. Out of all the weapons you can get out of the Deadmines, this one's probably the best as it has the highest amount of DPS and offers you a ton of extra offensive stats, so when this drops, cross your fingers and hope the gods of RNG are smiling down on you. Then in your early 20s you can get this, Verrigan's Fist, a two-handed mace with 25.6 DPS, 3.2 attack speed, 7 stamina, 12 spirit and 6 intellect. Now, while the stats are more focused around healing, it offers a lot more DPS than any weapon we checked out in the Deadmines, and the cool thing is, you can obtain this through a Paladin specific quest, so no luck involved with drops or rolls. And this weapon offers a lot of damage for something that you can get at such an early level range, so I'd say it's pretty much a no-brainer. The quest for this is called the Test of Righteousness. And then in your mid-20s, should you want to, you could also shoot for this, the Strike of the Hydra, a two-handed sword with the same amount of damage as the mace we checked out beforehand, a 3.3 attack speed, and a chance on hit that will do corrosive acid that deals 7 nature damage every 3 seconds and lowers the target's armor by 50 for 30 seconds. Now this does involve you going through Black Fathom Deeps and it's a drop, so it's a little tougher to get, but if for whatever reason you haven't gotten yourself the two-handed mace, then I'd say this is a decent alternative to shoot for. Then in your late 20s, you can, if you want to, make a bit of a detour as an alliance and do a Razorfen crawl run for this, the Corpse Maker, a two-handed axe with 28.9 DPS, 3.8 attack speed, 15 strength and 8 stamina. I know that Razor and Crawl usually isn't really that popular with the Alliance, but should you want to run it, then this is a good weapon to keep in the back of your head. Then in your late 20s and early 30s, you can try and do Scarlet Monastery Graveyard for this, Morbid Dawn. A two-handed sword with 30.2 DPS, 2.9 attack speed, 15 stamina and 10 strength. A great addition to any Paladin's arsenal, though keep in mind that this is off of a rare spawn, so the chance of getting this is pretty low. However, since Scarlet Monastery Graveyard is such a quick dungeon, it's easy to do a few runs in a row without it taking a ton of time, further increasing the chance that you might be able to pick up this sweet blade. And while you're in your early 30s, you can check out Nomer Gun for two weapons. First up, Thermoplug's left arm. A two-handed axe with 32.6 DPS, 2.7 attack speed, a massive 18 strength and 7 stamina. Another weapon that will offer you tons of strength and does tons of extra attack power. And the second one is the Manual Crowd Pummeler. A two-handed mace with 29 DPS, a very fast 2.0 attack speed, 16 strength, 5 agility, and a use that increases your attack speed by 50% for 30 seconds. This weapon is of course extremely popular with druids, and while the DPS is suboptimal compared to the two-handed axe that drops here, it's still a nice weapon to pick up if you haven't gotten yourself an upgrade for quite a while. Up next, in the mid-30s bracket, we have a familiar weapon that we've seen a few times already, which is the Ravager. A two-handed axe with 37.3 DPS, 3.5 attack speed, and a chance on hit that will basically provide you with a mini blade storm for 9 seconds, causing weapon damage plus an additional 5 every 3 seconds. This one drops off of Herod in Scarlet Monastery Armory, and while being a nice weapon, it is unfortunately also very popular with warriors, so the competition for this weapon will be rather stiff. Then a few levels later you can do Scarlet Monastery Cathedral and try and get this, Mograin's Might. A two-handed mace with 38.9 DPS, 2.8 attack speed, 16 spirit and 17 stamina. While not super ideal, as it has no strength, crit or anything like that, the extra spirit and stamina combined with that high DPS means that it is a pretty nice paladin weapon for you to try and pick up. After a couple more levels you can start doing Uldaman, and there's a lot of potential upgrades for you to get as a paladin in this dungeon. First up, the Dwarven Charge, a two-handed axe with 31.2 DPS, 2.9 attack speed, 12 strength and 11 stamina. I decided to throw this in because 1, getting this will involve you running this dungeon, and 2, all of the previously featured items were drops from dungeons, so I'd like to add in one weapon that you're guaranteed to get should you complete this quest. That, and the weapon itself, is not too shabby for an uncommon item that you can get through questing, and the quest for this is called the Hidden Chamber. Alright, now we focus on the drops in this dungeon, starting with this, Grimlock's Charge, a polearm with 40.9 DPS, 2.7 attack speed, 15 agility, 10 strength, and 15 stamina. Now as this has a pretty fast attack speed, a warrior will probably skip this and get something else, so competition for this item will probably be lower, which means that it's not too hard to bag yourself this item. But there's more to be gained in Uldaman, including this, the Stone Slayer, a two-handed sword with 42.7 DPS, a massive 3.9 attack speed, and a chance on hit to increase damage by 10 for 8 seconds. A very solid weapon with a low attack speed, which means big hits and nasty crits. Then last but not least we got the Rock Pounder, a two-handed mace with 42.7 DPS, 3.7 attack speed, 5 strength and an extra 2% critical strike chance. Another amazing weapon for any melee class and feral druids, so while it's a great addition for your paladin, you can rest assured that other people in your group will try and bag this sweet item as well. Then we move on to your early 50s for an amazing weapon that you can get by running the Sunken Temple, and that is the Light Forged Blade. A two-handed sword with 44.8 DPS, 3.3 attack speed, 9 strength, 9 stamina, 10 fire resistance, 10 frost resistance, 10 shadow resistance, and it provides you with 16 extra holy spell damage. This thing has Paladin written all over it, which makes sense because it's not a drop, but part of a Paladin specific quest chain called Forging the Mightstone. Keep in mind though that this quest won't be available in Phase 1 as it was added in patch 1.8. But if you're leveling an alt in a later stage of the game and this quest is available, you should definitely try and get it. 1, because it's a sweet weapon, and 2, you'll look like a badass wielding this. However, even if the Lightforged blade cannot be obtained just yet, there are still 2 pretty decent items you can get out of Sunken Temple if you happen to run that dungeon anyway. Starting with this, the Smoldering Claw, a polearm with 46.6 DPS, 2.9 attack speed, 10 fire resistance, and a chance on hit that hurls a fiery ball that causes 135 fire damage and an additional 15 damage over 6 seconds. Not exactly mind-blowing, but it does provide you with some solid DPS, so it's an item to look out for. The second item is this, the Drakefang Butcher, a two-handed sword with 45.9 DPS, 2.7 attack speed, 15 strength, and a chance on hit that wounds the target, causing them to bleed for 150 damage over 30 seconds. Now this has slightly less DPS than the polearm, but it does provide you with 15 extra strength, and also, in my humble opinion, looks pretty damn cool, so I'd say it's worth picking up. Another item that you can possibly get in your early 50s is the Ice Barbed Spear, a polearm with 53.9 DPS, 3.6 attack speed, 21 agility, 13 strength, and 20 stamina. This amazing polearm will provide you a major boost in your damage if you manage to get this in your early 50s, and will probably last you way up until you reach level cap. And the cool thing is that it's part of a quest that will require you to only win Alterac Valley just once, so no luck involved with drop chances and rolls. What's not so cool though is that Alterac Valley is of course a battleground, and battlegrounds won't be available until a later stage of the game, so for now you'll have to settle for something else. So what is that something else? Well, luck has it that when you gain a few more levels and you're in your mid to late 50s, you can do a little instance called Blackrock Depths. And in Blackrock Depths there are a ton of possible upgrades for your Paladin, so let's go ahead and take a look. First up, the Force of Magma, a two-handed mace with 48.1 DPS, 14 strength, and a chance on hit that blasts a target for 150 fire damage. A nice, solid two-handed mace with a pretty neat chance on hit that will improve your damage quite a bit if you haven't been very lucky with getting any previous weapons. Then we move on to the Lavastone Hammer, a two-handed mace with 49.7 DPS, 3.4 attack speed, 14 stamina, 12 intellect, 10 strength, and 20 damage and healing. What's cool about this weapon is that only Paladins can really benefit from all stats of this weapon, as they use both melee abilities and spells, so all of the stats on here are a welcome sight. All in all, a nice weapon you should definitely look out for when running this dungeon. Then there's this polearm that I just had to put in here, the Flame Wrath, a polearm with 48.2 DPS, 3.3 attack speed, and a chance on hit that envelops the caster with a fire shield for 15 seconds and shoots a ring of fire, dealing 130 to 171 damage to all nearby enemies. Now I know that this might not be an ideal weapon, but if you haven't gotten an upgrade for quite some time, then this is actually not too shabby. And if you're DPSing down multiple mobs, the proc of this weapon will be a killer combo combined with Consecration. So yeah, not the best, but definitely something to keep in the back of your head when you're going through Blackrock Depths. And then we move on to this, the Dreadforged Retaliator, another popular item in the series. It's a two-handed axe with 50.5 DPS, 3.7 attack speed, 1% chance to parry, 1% chance to get a critical strike, and 30 attack power. From all the two-handed weapons you can get out of Blackrock Depths, this is probably the best one, which makes sense because it also drops from the last boss in this dungeon. Unfortunately, this means that it's also very popular with other classes like warriors and hunters. So while it's an amazing item for your Paladin, expect some stiff competition when this drops. And then last but not least, we got another quest item we can throw in here, as it involves you running Blackrock Depths, and that is the Limb Cleaver, a two-handed axe with 42.7 DPS, a very fast 2.4 attack speed, 21 strength, and 6 stamina. And yes, while this might not be as powerful as the other weapons, it's still a nice bonus to get when going through this dungeon, as this is a quest, so no luck involved with drops or rolls. The quest for this axe is called Hurley Black Breath. And there you go guys, plenty of weapons for all you Paladins to drool over and try and get. I hope I was able to help you with this list, and as always, I want to thank you for watching this video. I'm Hamsterwheel and have a good one.